viewers can't get enough of And Just Like That. But is your Sex and the City knowledge up to scratch? Have you heard the rumors about Kim Cattrall? And do you know what color Carrie's hair was meant to be? Here is the complete untold truth of Sex and the City. Fashion played a huge role in Sex and the City, and shoes were an essential part of that, as the character Carrie Bradshaw once realized.
I spent $40,000 on shoes and I have no place to live?
While we all loved seeing Carrie clatter around New York in her seemingly endless collection of expensive footwear, it turns out that it wasn't always fun for Sarah Jessica Parker. In 2013, the actress revealed that the heels took a toll on her feet. As she confessed to The Edit, "I literally ran in heels. I worked 18-hour days and never took them off." Apparently, she discovered years later that Carrie's heels had actually done some permanent damage. When she hurt her ankle filming I Don't Know How She Does It, she went to a foot doctor. As Parker recalled, he said, "Your foot does things it shouldn't be able to do." According to Parker, the bones in her feet had actually moved around and were in the wrong places. Basically, the star paid a big price for playing Carrie Bradshaw.
I have no fortune. I didn't need a cookie to tell me that.
Darren Star created Sex and the City, but by the end of the series, he was no longer involved in developing the show's plotlines or scripts. As he revealed to Kindle Singles, "If you're empowering other people to write and produce your show, at a certain point, you've got to let them follow their vision." As a reminder, in the final episodes of the series, Carrie ended up in a happily ever after scenario with Mr. Big, which made for one of the most romantic TV scenes.
Carrie, you're the one.
However, Star wasn't pleased and told Kindle Singles, "I think the show ultimately betrayed what it was about, which was that women don't ultimately find happiness from marriage." Even though Star was disappointed with the romantic ending, Sarah Jessica Parker disagreed and told Yahoo Style, "As I recall, the way Carrie and Big married was something she wanted." It's hard to imagine Sex and the City without Sarah Jessica Parker at the helm as Carrie Bradshaw. However, it turns out we almost got a very different leading lady. In 2016, the actress confessed on an edition of the Jess Cagle interview for People that she was very hesitant about taking on the role after the pilot was picked up. Parker recalled, "I met my agents in LA, and I was like, do you think maybe I could not do this now?" At the time, she had gotten into a routine of doing plays and films. Parker knew that Sex and the City would take up most of her time instead, something she referred to as being held hostage. However, Parker's mind was changed when the network explained, No, we don't function like that. We want you here if you want to be here." Thank goodness Parker was convinced to continue in her role, as it's hard to picture the show without her. With more than 20 years now separating us and the original release of Sex and the City, it comes as no surprise to learn that the show is slightly dated. One of the most noticeable things about the show today is that it presents an extremely white cast of characters. However, it turns out that the cast wasn't comfortable with this lack of diversity. When a black actor was finally cast as a recurring romantic lead in 2003, Cynthia Nixon, who played Miranda, revealed to CBS News, "We, all of us, and no one more than Sarah Jessica, had lobbied for this for a long time." She went on to explain that initially, creators Darren Star and Candace Bushnell had written the show to reflect the circles they moved in, which were largely white. But for Nixon, this wasn't a good enough excuse. As she told CBS News, "It is 6 years later now, and I think it's irresponsible." In the 2008 Sex and the City movie, Sarah Jessica Parker's character Carrie is seen leafing through a book called Love Letters of Great Men while sitting in bed with Mr. Big. Apparently, fans of the film headed to their local bookshops to purchase a copy of the book, only to find that it didn't exist. CBS News even published an article about the sudden demand for the made-up book. In fact, AbeBooks.com revealed to the Associated Press that they had received hundreds of queries about the book after the movie's release. British publisher Macmillan eventually caught on to the surge in demand and published a book with the same name. The volume contained the love letters of Henry VIII, Mozart, and Oscar Wilde. It's pretty cool that Sex and the City inspired its fans to read, even if the real version of the book had to be created after the film's release.
There they were, the Love Letters of Great Men, Volume 1.
As many Sex and the City fans may already know, the show got its name from a New York Observer column of the same name that was written by the show's co-creator, Candace Bushnell. As Bushnell explained in a piece for The Hollywood Reporter, the column was pretty much all her idea. Peter Kaplan, who was then the editor-in-chief of the publication, let Bushnell decide what she wanted to write about. The writer said, "I think it should be about me and my friends, who are all single and crazy." Kaplan then came up with the now famous title, Sex and the City, and the rest is history. The book, Sex and the City and Us, How 4 Single Women Changed the Way We Think, Live, and Love, explained that Carrie was really Bushnell's alter ego, a name created so that the author's parents wouldn't find out about her sexual escapades. In the columns, Bushnell wrote about Carrie as her friend, but all of the stories were actually from her own life. It turns out she even had her own Mr. Big. These days, it's impossible to imagine Carrie Bradshaw without her big, bouncy blonde locks. However, it turns out that the character was originally imagined as a brunette in the first pilot script. While looks shouldn't matter, having a darker hair color definitely would have changed Carrie. According to BuzzFeed, the producers decided to make Carrie a blonde character just 24 hours before shooting the pilot. Apparently, they changed their minds because they wanted Carrie to resemble Candace Bushnell, the original Sex and the City writer. In fact, in the pilot episode of Sex and the City, you can see that Carrie's hair hadn't even gone fully blonde at that point. While the original premise of Sex and the City was based on Candace Bushnell's New York Observer column, most of the plot lines came from other sources. It turns out, however, that none of the storylines were entirely made up. In an IMDb interview, Cynthia Nixon revealed that the writers of the show always drew their stories from real life. The actress explained, "They had a rule in the writing that they couldn't put anything in an episode that didn't literally happen to someone in the writer's room or someone they knew." One of the show's writers explained how things worked in the writer's room in a piece for Cosmopolitan, saying, "We were all dating, so we would go out at night and come in the next morning and have some crazy story." Apparently, a lot of the stories were seriously shocking. There's no denying that Sex and the City is filled with some pretty scandalous sexual storylines. For actress Kristin Davis, who played Charlotte, this meant that telling certain family members about her role was a little awkward. As she told The Guardian, she asked her parents not to watch a few scenes, and her parents hid the show from Davis's grandmother, in case the sexual content was too upsetting for her. However, Davis's parents apparently grew to love watching the show. Her father, a college teacher, even used it for his class on marriage and sexuality. However, Davis admitted her mother wasn't a huge fan of Samantha's sexual escapades on the show. We all remember that episode of Sex and the City when Carrie and Miranda grabbed cupcakes in the West Village at Magnolia Bakery, as a local New Yorker wrote in the Telegraph. Not long after the episode was broadcast, the tourists started to arrive, and the bakery started charging them if they wanted to take photographs of Carrie and company's favorite haunt. She went on to describe how, even after the show ended, the tourists kept on coming, leaving half-eaten cupcakes in the garbage can outside her house. Eventually, the bakery even hired security staff. It's safe to say that Sex and the City would be totally different without Kim Cattrall as Samantha, the most sexually liberated of the 4 women. However, as it turns out, Cattrall wasn't initially too keen on the show. On an episode of Life Stories, the actress revealed, "I think I was scared. I think that at 41, I didn't know if I could pull it off." Apparently, she was terrified that the ageism in Hollywood would paint her as an older woman who was preying on younger men. She reportedly turned down the role 3 times before the production team finally convinced her to sign on.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
For many of us, the idea of having just one outfit from Sex and the City is a total dream come true. The show is filled with wild clothing items and some truly inspirational outfits. At New York's Vulture Festival, Sarah Jessica Parker revealed that she actually got to keep around 95% of what she wore on the show. Parker explained, "I don't touch it or wear it, but all of that is really meaningful." After 6 seasons and 2 films, the world of Sex and the City returned in 2021 with a brand new show starring many members of the original cast. According to showrunner Michael Patrick King, showcasing the sex lives of 50-year-old women was somewhat revolutionary. As he told Vogue, there were a lot of positive reactions. But one response online was people sharing pictures of the Golden Girls, and I was like, wow, so it's either you're 35 or you're retired and living in Florida. There's a missing chapter here.
Why are you insulting me?
It's a defense mechanism.
The reboot was also a chance to bring people some much-needed nostalgia. As actress Sarah Jessica Parker explained, the show was like comfort food for fans, which made it perfect for a world in the midst of a pandemic. She explained, "We spoke about what we were missing in the pandemic: joy, community, the experience of being together. The world of Carrie and her friends has always been about coming home, and I felt like we needed that right now." While And Just Like That sees plenty of familiar faces returning, there is one very significant omission, and that's Kim Cattrall. Cattrall said goodbye to the world of Sex and the City for good in 2017 when she turned down the option to star in a third film. Her decision caused a huge reaction online, but Cattrall stuck by her decision. As she revealed on Life Stories, "I feel that the show is the best when it was the series and the bonus was the 2 movies." The tabloids spread the story that Cattrall had opted out of the reboot because of a feud with her fellow castmates. However, in 2017, as Cattrall explained on Life Stories, "This is about a clear decision, an empowered decision in my life, to end one chapter and start another. I'm 61. It's now."
And the answer was simply, thank you. But no.
It seems she felt the same way when approached about the 2021 reboot. However, some people are still holding out hope that Cattrall will find her way back to the series eventually. As a source told the Daily Mail in 2021, "We all miss Kim, and we hope she comes back for the 2nd season of And Just Like That. The door will never close on her. She is an important part of the franchise." And just like that, we got our hopes up for seeing the Fab Four back together again one day. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more list of videos about your favorite celebrities are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.